the Equality Act kicks in from interview, and the correct procedure is that you should not be asking people medical questions unless they've been offered the job, which is the way to do it. Because the whole focus of a pre-placement questionnaire these days should be about making adjustments to support people.
I know the basics of what people can and can't ask you. Like, you can't be discriminated because of your age or your sex or things like that. But when it comes to mental health, actually, I don't think there's enough awareness of what they can and can't ask you in an interview and what information they can get from you. I think there should be more awareness of that, actually.
What we do at interview stage is just interview on competency. Post-interview, then we would be taking up medical health questionnaires. We would be taking up references in terms of previous employers, and depending on what comes back, the officer would then, in terms of making the appointment, wouldn't look and say there's too many barriers here. They'd be looking at what do I need to put in place to enable this person to come into work.
Most people lie. In my experience of doing the Bun and a Blether project, this is conversations we have on a regular basis with people. If they're filling in an application form, do they tell the truth that they live with a long-term mental illness? And I've experienced that with filling applications, and I've lied about that. And I've also lied about gaps in my employment because of the stigma that surrounds mental illness. And in my mind, I thought then someone else would get employed over me because I managed a long-term condition. Not now, I wouldn't. But yes, I've experienced that.
I always remember going for the interviews. I used to make myself sick really, because I'd be like to my mum, would I tell them? She'd be like, you don't need to tell them anything. I was like, but I know they're going to ask and I know it's going to come out, so how do I do this? And then I was like, I know I'm on medication and I thought I had to tell them.
I would encourage any employer to have a look at the Equality Act and to look at what it asks of, or not asks, but demands of them. It's legislation, it's their obligations. What is it they have to do in relation to that?
It's so difficult because you don't want to come across as unreliable or as if you're going to let people down, or to you want to put across the best impression of yourself. So a lot of the times I sort of stumble over it.
The big change that the Equality Act 2010 brought in was to remove the ability of an employer to ask about any health condition prior to identifying the candidate as the preferred candidate. So you'll see now with a lot of applications, you have an equalities questionnaire. You also have in there somebody asking, do they consider themselves to have a disability?
I'm a lot more confident about disclosing it now, and it's, okay, I wasn't too good health-wise, and I've had physical and mental health issues before, and I needed time to make sure my health was okay. So now I'm in a place that I'm more confident, but previously when interviewing I just stumbled over it. I just tipped over my words, and it was a nightmare to explain to people.
If you tick yes, you do have a disability, or you consider yourself to have a disability, that information does not go to those who are selecting in relation to the person's specification for the post. What the person does get is information that the person does have a disability, and therefore if they meet the essential criteria, they must be interviewed for a job.
I think going back into a workplace now, I'd be more confident in what I'm entitled to and what I should expect from an employer. And I think I'm not quite as assertive as I want to be, but I'm at the stage where I'm able to say, well, this is how I'm feeling and this is what's going on, and to be able to say, right, what can you do to help me, and here's what I'm going to do to keep myself healthy as possible and to make sure I'm okay.
What we would call positive discrimination, positive actions to eradicate discrimination. So we always interview somebody if they meet the essential criteria, if they tick that.
If you know what you're entitled to, and I think if you've got some concrete information and like legislation or regulation behind you, I think if you've got something behind you, you feel more confident rather if you're just articulating from your own thoughts.